إن هذا القرآن يهدي للتي هي أقوم ويبشر المؤمنين.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi. Alhamdulillah, we're now going to cover the verb from a perspective of whether it's in the active form, مبني للمعلوم, or in the passive form, مبني للمجهول. So, verbs in the Arabic language can either be in the active voice, okay, and this is ما ذكر فاعله. This is when the fa'il, the one doing the action, is mentioned. For example, حفظ محمد القرآن. Muhammad memorized the Quran. So here the one doing the action, which is Muhammad, is mentioned, ذكر الفاعل. So it's called مبني للمعلوم, right? And this is the natural state of a verb. Usually a verb is going to be in the active voice where the one doing the action is being mentioned. On the other hand, you do have مبني للمجهول, which is the passive voice, okay? Or مبني لمن لم يسمى فاعله, which is when the fa'il, the one doing the action, is not actually mentioned, okay? ما لم يذكر فاعله وأنيب عنه غيره. This is the case when the one doing the action is not mentioned, but rather there is a substitute word that's taken the place of the fa'il. For example, حفظ القرآن. The Quran was memorized. The Quran was memorized. So here the one doing the action is not mentioned. So this is مبني للمجهول or مبني لمن لم يسمى فاعله. It's either مبني للمجهول, meaning like what is not known, like the person doing the action is not mentioned, or يعني some scholars say it's better to use the term مبني لما لم يسمى فاعله, that the verb is stuck or it's on the form of Yani when the fa'il, the one doing the action, is not mentioned. Because sometimes one doing the action is not that it's mashhur, it's not that he's not known, but it's just that we don't want to mention him or her. على كل, these are the two possible yani ways that a verb can be formed yani based on whether the fa'il is mentioned or not. Based on whether the fa'il is mentioned or not. And like I said, the de facto position is that a verb is going to be مبني للمعلوم. طيب? So how then do we make a verb مبني للمجهول? This is the real question. Before we go into that though, what exactly takes the place of the fa'il when you actually use this form? Okay, so the scholars say التي ينوب عن الفاعل ويسمى نائب الفاعل أربعة أشياء. They say that there are four different things that can take the place of the fa'il and become what's called نائب الفاعل, the substitute of the fa'il. Okay, the first one is the مفعول به, okay, which is usually the case. So the مفعول به, what was originally the object of the verb, is going to become the substitute of the fa'il. So قضي الأمر, the affair was يعني completed. Okay, قضي الأمر, the affair was judged or was completed. So originally you would say, for example, قضى الله الأمر, Allah completed the affair. But if you want to make it مبني لما لم يسمى فاعله, if you want to put it in the passive voice, you say قضي الأمر. So الأمر, which originally was the مفعول به, قضى الله الأمر, it became the نائب الفاعل, the substitute of the fa'il, and now it's قضي الأمر. طيب, we also sometimes, the one that's going to be the نائب الفاعل is the مفعول المطلق. Okay, if you don't know what the مفعول المطلق is, I have a separate video on it that you can check inshallah, but it's a bit hard to explain here very quickly. But sometimes the مفعول المطلق will take the place of نائب الفاعل. For example, نفخ في الصور نفخة. So نفخة here is the نائب الفاعل, and it originally was in the position of the مفعول المطلق, منصوب, right? طيب, likewise, الظرف can also become a نائب الفاعل. For example, جلس اليوم. جلس اليوم. So here اليوم is the نائب الفاعل. And then likewise, even a jar and majrur can also become a نائب الفاعل. نذر في الأمر. So في الأمر جار مجرور في محل رفع نائب الفاعل. Okay. If you have any questions about any of these subcategories, like مفعول مطلق or jar majrur, I'll have separate videos on the YouTube channel on this. So now, how do we actually form the majhul form, the passive form, right? It's very simple. For the madi, you put a dhamma on the first letter, and then you put a kasra on the letter before the last one, so the penultimate letter. For the mudari', you put a dhamma on the first letter, and then you put a fatha on the penultimate letter. Okay, and I'll give you guys examples. So for example, shariba. So shariba is a past tense form, right? It's a past tense verb. So what I'm going to do here is number one, I'm going to put a dhamma on the first letter. Then number two, I'm going to put a kasra on the penultimate letter. Here it already has a kasra, so I don't have to change anything. So shuriba. So shuriba means it was drank. Kasra means he broke, right? So step number one is I put a dhamma on the first letter. Step number two is I put a kasra on the penultimate letter. It becomes kusira. It was broken. Qatala becomes qutila. It's very simple. For the mudari', similar, slightly different though. Step number one was that you put a dhamma on the first letter. The first letter here is going to be the harf mudara, so the ya, the ta, whatever the case may be. So ya becomes you, yusharu, bu, and then you put a fatha on the penultimate letter. So instead of putting a kasra here, I put a fatha, so it becomes yusharabu. It's being drank. It's being drunk or it's being drank. Something along those lines. Yaksiru means he breaks. I put a dhamma on the first letter, then I put a fatha on the penultimate letter. Yuksaru, it's being broken. Then yaqtulu becomes yuqtalu. Okay. Inshallah, in part number 2, I'm going to explain how you create the majhul form for verbs that are not thulathi. Okay, verbs that have more than 3 letters. So verbs like yani istaghfara, yani tadaraba, tanasara, ijtama'a, and so on and so forth. But inshallah, we'll cover that in part number 2. But now, alhamdulillah, you understand the difference between the verb that is ma'loom and the verb that's majhul. You understand what will take the place of naib al-fa'il when you make a verb in the majhul form. And then likewise, you understand how to make the majhul form for thulathi verbs. Verbs that have 3 letters, like shariba, kasara, qatala, and so on and so forth.
إن هذا القرآن يهدي للتي هي أقوم ويبشر المؤمنين